Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Can't hear the cartels. Get bigger pair. Jaya Radha Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Manakari Yamunatira Manakari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari. Rajajanarayana Yashodanyandana Rajajanarayana Yashodanyandana Rajajanarayana Yashodanyandana Rajajanarayana Yamunatira Manatari Yamunatira Manachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Suprivajakacharya Asto Tartata Śrimad Nitya Leela Pravista Spirit Divine Grace Shila Abhaya Charan Arvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj ISKCON's BBD founder Acharya Jagat Guru Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Govinda New York Yatra Dham Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanandi Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tatojayam Utirayet. Nasta Pareshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskita Deshatarane. Reading from the Śrimad Bhāgavatam, Chapter 31, The Movements of the Living Entities, text number 48, which is the last verse in the chapter. Samyag Darshanaya Budhya Yoga Vairagya Yuktaya Maya Virachite Loke Charen Yasya Kalevaram Samyag Darshanaya Budhya Yoga Vairagya Yuktaya Maya Virachite Loke Charanyasya Kalevaram Samyag Darshanaya Budhya Yoga Vairagya Yuktaya Maya Virachite Loke Charanyasya Kalevaram Samyag Darshanaya Budhya Yoga Vairagya Yuktaya Maya Virachite Loke Charanyasa Kalevaram. When she offers the incense, could you nip it and take it out of the room, please, for the arti? Ladies? Samyak Darshanaya, endowed with right vision. Buddhya, through reason. Yoga, by devotional service. Vairagya, by detachment. Yuktaya, strengthened. Maya virachite, arranged by Maya. Loke, to this world. Charet, one should move about. Nyasya, relegating. Kalevaram, the body. Endowed with right vision and strengthened by devotional service and a pessimistic attitude towards material identity, one should relegate his body to this illusory world through his reason. Thus, one can be unconcerned with this material world. Purport by His Divine Grace, ISKCON's founder Acharya, Jagadguru, the savior of the entire universe, Srila Prabhupada. It is sometimes misunderstood that if one has to associate with persons engaged in devotional service, he will not be able to solve the economic problem. To answer this argument, it is described here that one has to associate with liberated persons, not directly, physically, but by understanding through philosophy and logic the problems of life. It is stated here, Samyag Darshanaya Buddhya. One has to see perfectly, and by intelligence and yogic practice, one has to renounce this world. That renunciation can be achieved by the process recommended in the second chapter of the first canto of Śrimad Bhāgavatam. The devotee's intelligence is always in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His attitude towards the material existence is one of detachment, for he knows perfectly well that this material world is a creation of illusory energy. Realizing himself to be part and parcel of the Supreme Soul, the devotee discharges his devotional service and is completely aloof from material action and reaction. Thus, at the end, he gives up his material body or the material energy, and as a pure soul, he enters the kingdom of God. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the third canto, 31st chapter of the Śrimad Bhāgavatam, entitled Lord Kapila's Instructions on the Movements of the Living Entities. Om Ajnanatamrandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshuramitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Upagada Mayam Dadati Svapanantigam Mandeham Shri Guru Shruta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagujatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vidamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Surato Pangor Mama Manda Matergati Matsarvasvapadam Bojo Radha Madana Mohano Dibyad Bindaranya Kalpajrumada Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prestalabi Sevyamano Smarami Sriman Rasa Rasarambi Mamsi Bhattatasti Taha Karshan Venusvanar Gopir Gopinatha Sriestuna Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Brindavaneshvari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Samyag Darshanaya Budya Yoga Vairagya Yuktaya Maya Virachite Loke Charanyasa Kalevaram, endowed with right vision and strengthened by devotional service and a pessimistic attitude towards material identity, one should relegate his body to this illusory world through his reason. Thus, one can be unconcerned with this material world. In case I need, give me the preaching is the essence in the bottom right-hand corner of the audio lockup cabinet. So, Krishna himself, as Kapila Dev, is rendering this instruction. This is a very wonderful opportunity, thank you, when Krishna himself is instructing about himself. That is the value of Bhagavad Gita, particularly. And we see how Śrimad Bhāgavatam has topics about Krishna spoken by great personalities empowered and authorized by Krishna, such as Narada Muni, the wonderful chapters 5 and 6 of the first canto in particular. Narada Muni instructs Vyasadeva, Narada Muni's instructions on Śrimad Bhāgavatam to Vyasadeva, then conversation between Narada and Vyasa, which is basically Narada Muni's telling Vyasadeva upon his sincere inquiry how he achieved his incredible perfection as the great Narada Muni. And so many places, in particular Narada Muni throughout Śrimad Bhāgavatam. Narada Muni is instructing Maharaj Yudhishthira in the 7th canto, which encapsulates the entire telling of the appearance of Lord Nrsimhadev. Then later in the 11th canto, Narada Muni is instructing Vasudeva, Krishna's father, in devotional service. And so many other great personalities that we can think of. The story of Dhruva Maharaj, Maharaj Prithu. Actually, when this third canto concludes with the final chapter, Movements of Kapila, we will move on to the 4th canto, the telling of the pastime of Daksha offending Lord Shiva will be the first in line, then the story of Dhruva Maharaj, then after that, Maharaj Prithu, etc., etc. So Krishna directly speaking himself, or persons speaking about topics and great saintly persons in relationship to Krishna. So Krishna is very kind, he's very merciful, he's giving very strong reality check here. What is the nature of being in a cycle of repeated birth and death? Perhaps the strongest instructions categorically in Śrimad Bhāgavatam of the nature of the illusory energy in the form of attraction between male and female, just previously 10 verses ago. Just try to understand the mighty strength of my Maya in the shape of woman, who by the mere movement of her eyebrows can keep even the greatest conquerors of the world under her grip. One who aspires to reach the culmination of yoga and has realized his self by rendering service unto me should never associate with an attractive woman, or one should not associate with the illusory energy with an enjoying spirit. One should not give up the original seva bhavana of one's true self, which is that of an eternal, transcendental loving service of the Lord. For such attraction or such involvement is declared to be the gateway to hell for the advancing devotee. So this is just after explaining how even after again going through the cycle of repeated birth and death. If again one loses or squanders the opportunity of this human form of life, then again he's put into the womb for repeated birth and death. So all these things have been told, and Kapila is concluding his instruction with comfort, with consoling the said instructed person. That's all of us. We are in the position of Mother Devahuti. We are in the position of Arjuna, receiving the instruction. Therefore, one should not view death with horror, nor have recourse to defining the body as soul, nor give way to exaggeration in enjoying the bodily necessities of life. So it's described here that one should view this material world with pessimism. Does that come to the point where one cannot be kind to others? One cannot actually understand what is the ultimate intrinsic reality, which is sublime for everyone, and relate with everyone and deal with everyone based on that reality and that ultimate potential, giving hope to everyone. When Kardama Muni left home to take sannyas, Kapila Dev said, you should give assurance of safety to everyone in your position of renunciation. Renunciation doesn't mean to give up the dealings with others and with this world, but it means to deal with this material world and ultimately to have relationships with others based on what's described here, right understanding. Realizing the true nature of the living entity. Once you move about in the world, free from attachment and steadfast in purpose. Endowed with right vision and strengthened by devotional service and a pessimistic attitude towards material identity, one should relegate his body to this illusory world through his reason. Thus, one can be unconcerned with this material world. There's a very nice section in the 5th canto where, amazingly enough, the son of Swayambhuva Manu, Priyavrata Maharaj, is the sole heir to the kingdom, to the responsibility of Swayambhuva Manu, who needs and wants to retire. So Narada Muni, in a similar position in the 6th canto, is doing in the 5th canto. He's instructing Priyavrata Maharaj not to accept this position, which also means to be a married householder, but he should engage in strict Naishtik brahmacharya and complete renunciation. And coming from Narada Muni, not like some fanatical upstart, who, but really doesn't have the deep substance or the maturity to give such instructions, for whom a seasoned devotee or experienced devotee would look at this as just, But coming from Narada Muni, this is very, very attractive. So Swayambhuva Manu he didn't react like Prajapati Daksha did later in the 6th canto, but Prajapati Daksha took it upon himself and ultimately overstepped his position and made offense to Narada Muni. Of course, Narada Muni took the offense, which was in the form of a curse. You cannot stay anywhere for more than 3 days at a time, as a very nice benediction, because Narada Muni's mission is to continually travel and preach. And Srila Prabhupada relates in that section that this curse offered by Daksha to Narada Muni has come down the line in disciplic succession, and therefore I've also been cursed by the parents of my young disciples who don't like that I've instructed them to renounce this material world that we see in the purport. And this is a big thing that Prabhupada would get. One of the arguments, he's like, if everyone takes to this movement, this young reporter in Dallas, Texas, you see that in the airport. If everyone became Hare Krishna to the extent that you do, what would happen to this country? You know, like the whole, you know, the economy would crash, you know. Just how deep an illusion the materialist is. And probably just, without missing a beat, they'd be very happy and prosperous. There'd be no more hippies. And Prabhupada didn't explain, it was very lighthearted, but no more hippies means that everybody would be properly engaged in their varnashram position, and everything would go on very nicely. In other words, everyone's occupational duties and what they should be doing. What is that in the 18th chapter? 41st verse, that everyone can become perfect in worship of the Lord by engaging in their occupational duties, varna and ashram, which is just like the body, you know, if the legs are happy, you know, the legs, what is that funny song? The leg bone connected to the neck bone and head bone, and here we praise to the Lord, something like that. Anyway, it's a funny song from the 60s. So that my head is working, my chest is working, my arms are working, my legs, we're all cooperating together, and life is going on very nicely. So the material world goes on very, very nicely if everyone is engaged in devotional service to the Lord. We don't need all of this ugra karma. We don't need all of this, you know, we tell people life is meant for more than just breaking rocks in the rat race, you know, slaving it out so many hours a day, you know. I don't know if they understand that now, but when I was saying that 40, 50, 45 years ago, well, it makes sense like that. So we've been given a mission ourselves, devotional service, and that mission is to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. The best defense against the allurement and the onslaught of material energy, the illusory energy, is to be representing the absolute truth and trying to present it automatically, because you're not living for yourself, you're not concerned with your own spiritual upliftment or maintenance, or automatically you will be supplied much more ability to be above it all and fulfill the ultimate purport of what's described here today, that one can move about this material world unconcerned for it, not feel threatened by it. So Priyavrata Maharaj, Svayambhuva Manu went to his father. Who's the father of Svayambhuva Manu? Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma is coming down to tell his grandson, Priyavrata Maharaj, and his son who's instructing him, Narada Muni, let's put the brakes on this. You know, his duty is to enter into householder life. He's got to do this. He's got to step back. You know, you don't instruct a brahmachari who's really can be a brahmachari. Well, you got to take householder life. We need you to do this. Very rare. Okay, and practically speaking, it's unspeakable. Practically speaking, it's unspeakable. But this was the position. So, and of course, this was at the beginning of the universe, so they needed. Okay. Speaks many nice things, Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma, speaking, my dear Priyavrata, seek shelter inside the opening in the lotus of the of the feet of the Lord, whose navel is also like a lotus. Thus conquer the 6 sense organs, the mind and knowledge-acquiring senses. Accept material enjoyment because the Lord extraordinarily has ordered you to do this. And just previously, he's extolling the utility and purposefulness and strength of the Grihastha ashram. One who is situated in household life and who systematically conquers his mind and 5 sense organs is like a king in his fortress who conquers his powerful enemies. After one has been trained in household life and his lusty desires have decreased, he can move anywhere without danger. Prabhupada, purport. The Vedic system of 4 varnas and ashrams is very scientific. Before entering the householder life, a student is fully trained to become Jitendriya, a conqueror of the senses. Such a mature student is allowed to become a householder. That's another misnomer. Oh, I'm lusty, I'm like attracted, by material desires, so I should enter household life, and that'll actually, one has to be very, very advanced, and one has to be situated on a very proper level of sense control before even thinking to enter into householder life. Such a mature student is allowed to become a householder, and because he was first trained to conquering his senses, he retires from household life and becomes vanaprastha as soon as the strong waves of youthful life are past, and he reaches the verge of old age at 50 years or slightly more. Then after being further trained, he accepts sannyas. He is then a fully learned and renounced person who can move anywhere and everywhere without fear of being captivated by material desires. The senses are considered very powerful enemies. As a king in a strong fortress can conquer powerful enemies, so a householder in Grihastha ashram can conquer the lusty desires of youth and be very secure when he takes vanaprastha and sannyas. Accept material enjoyment because the Lord extraordinarily has ordered you to do this. You will thus always be liberated from material association, be able to carry out the Lord's orders in your constitutional position. Now just see how Prabhupada brings it on home here in the purport. There's a Sanskrit prakritim bhajasva in this verse. It's very significant. Prakritim refers to one's constitutional position. Every living entity has the constitutional position of being an eternal servant of the Lord. Therefore, Lord Brahma advised Priyabrata, be situated in your original position as an eternal servant of the Lord. If you carry out his orders, you will never fall. So there, Lord Brahma, Swayambhuva Manu, they're instructing Priyabrata Maharaj to accept the householder life and accept now you are going to become the next king of the universe. It was a very needed devotional service. So the devotional service was the thing that was most important, not his particular, which ashram or where he wanted to be situated, or what he wanted to do, however much attractive it is. Just like you can read statements by great exalted personalities, Prapodananda Saraswati Pad, who's an incarnation of Tungavidya Saki, one of the 8 Astagopis, Radha and Krishna. He says, if someone tells me to leave Vrindavan, I will cut out his tongue. If someone tells me to leave Vrindavan, how is that action any different than stabbing me with hundreds and thousands of daggers? I will never leave Vrindavan, for example. We're the best devotional service. This is no sane person would take one step foot out of Vrindavan. And we see sometimes devotees, they take these statements and they just like kind of magnify them like by 100 times multiplication, more and more. and not taking that into right context, who are we following? Who is our spiritual master? What is the need of the hour? What is the desire of the Lord? Prabodhananda Saraswati Pad was a contemporary of the six Goswamis, whose mission was to excavate Vrindavan's lost glories. Vrindavan had been lost. It needed to be excavated. It needed to be renovated. It needed to be, again, that was required, that such exalted personalities of Lord Chaitanya would show how to live in Vrindavan after first rediscovering it. Quite different what the position of Vrindavan is now, some 500 years later, wouldn't you think? Or don't you think? If you carry out his orders, you will never fall, even in the midst of material enjoyment. Okay, we're getting to the bring it on home part, okay? We didn't lose the plot. Material enjoyment achieved by dint of one's fruitive activities differs from material enjoyment given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A devotee sometimes appears to be in a very opulent position, but he accepts that position to follow the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada could be welcomed by Madhu Dwees Prabhu and the others in Prabhupada House in Melbourne, Australia. This entire house is for me, which was built by a very wealthy person. It was like in the first part of the 19th century. It's even to date. Let me see, Subhadra, yeah. Thank you. It's very prestigious, opulent. This whole house, yeah, Prabhupada, this whole house is for you. The temple next door, and you see, like in the movies, the videos of Prabhupada's putting on tilak, this beautiful stained glass. It's one of Prabhupada's most opulent quarters. And just after that, he can go to Bhubaneswar and be with Gaur Govinda Maharaj living in a thatched brick hut. Or in Mayapur, the same thing when Prabhupada came there. Prabhupada would make statements, this is the most attractive place for me. Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his last writing, he's describing a modest Bhajan Kutir in Sri Navadvip Dham is more attractive to him than any type of, earthly, princely kingdom with vast opulence. There's so many other statements like that. So Prabhupada could live in opulence. He could live in what the materialists would consider poverty or scarcity. For him, it was the same. And look what Prabhupada had to do the first 1 year here in New York City, how he had to live, what he had to put up with, the austerities. Whatever Krishna wants, whatever position Krishna puts one in, the devotee is always satisfied. He accepts that position to follow the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, because of that, because he accepts the order of the Lord, he is never affected by material influences. Right? If one is fully engaged in the Lord's service, how can one be in Maya? Godhead is light, nescience is darkness. Wherever there's Godhead, there is no nescience. The devotees in the Krishna consciousness movement are preaching all over the world in accordance with the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They have to meet many karmis, or we have to live amongst them, just like Hansarupa Prabhu was giving us a nice statistic. 200 people an hour walk past us. We're in the Times Square subway, and there's a thing, like attracting people to have real estate in the subway, have a shop or something. 55,000 people a day in the 8th Avenue subway. development opportunity. I went with the Haituki. It's one of my cherished desires to reestablish Harinam on the corner of 42nd Street and 5th Avenue. But I don't think we could have like a sit-down picnic like we do in the other parks. It's more like kind of stand up or sit on a small chair and like, you know, be ready to move. But there's so many people. It's like a passionate, you know, like rugby match. It's like a dodgeball, the way people are moving there. But there's so many tens of thousands of people of all different stripes walking past there. So that is, and as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself relished and recommended, and as our Srila Prabhupada recommended, and as we're hearing, the prayers and feelings of Prahlad Maharaj. He's not interested in his own liberation. He's not interested in going off to some idyllic, you know, secluded place. He's interested in being in the most busiest cities of the world. What was one instruction that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur got from his spiritual master? Never go to Calcutta. And what did Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati do? He made his headquarters in Calcutta, the Bagh Bazar Mandir. And he said, I have followed my spiritual master's instruction. I have never gone to Calcutta, the materialistic place. In Calcutta, that's where the British colonialists, right? They made their, this is where their headquarters for subjugating the entire subcontinent in the ruthless way that they did. Very unkind way, just a gross understatement, but just to say unkind way they did for 200 years. But he went there to preach Krishna consciousness. So therefore, he was in Vaikuntha Galoka Vrindavan. He was in Nitya Navadvip serving Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They have to meet many karmis, but by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are unaffected by material influences. He has blessed them, as described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 7, verse 129. Kabu na bahibe, tomara vishaya taranga. Punarapi e tani papi mora sangi. So this is Lord Chaitanya's tour of South India. So who is he speaking to? The Korma Brahmin? We could look that up. But he's saying, no, the one who wanted to go with him. And he's saying, no, you have to stay at home. And he's assuring him that you will not be affected by material influences, by the illusory energy, because you're following my order, even staying at home. A sincere devotee who engages in the service of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by preaching his cult all over the world will never be affected by Vishaya Taranga, material influences. On the contrary, in due course of time, he will return to the shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and thus will have perpetual association with him. And we might add, if you're doing that now, you're already having perpetual association with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Narayan Prabhu urged me to sing one of my customary elongated Jayarada Madhavas, which caused my calculation of time to be squished. I wanted to leave more time for questions, but there's only 2 minutes, so we'll stop here. Any questions or comments? Narada Muni Das.
You have the mic? Hi, Krishna Prabhu. I just wanted to add a comment of appreciation for this verse. Part of it was saying Vairagya Yuktaya, and I found that very interesting and relevant to the topics that you were saying in class. Our process of Vairagya is Yukta Vairagya, and the translation here of Yuktaya is strengthened. And so sometimes I think this idea of being a renunciant is very attractive, but as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we're all actually meant to be renunciants. no matter what ashram we're in, because we're actually meant to work to transcend that level. Mamcha yovya bicharina bhakti yogena sevate saugunan samatityartan brahma bhuya yakalpate. So I just wanted to add an appreciation for the class that you've given, and how nice it is that Vairagya Yuktaya, it's strengthened when whatever you're doing is used in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, thank you.
Prabhupada was speaking, I forget where, I wish I would remember. It was Germany, Hamburg, 1969. Anyone ever been to Prabhupada Village recently? There's Shivananda there and his wonderful wife, Madan Mohan Mohini. So they were like opening up Germany. Hamburg, 1969. There's just a few devotees. This is just before Prabhupada came to London on September 11th, 1969, to be with Shyamasundar, Malati, Mukunda, Janaki, Gurudas, Yamuna, and go to John Lennon's Tittenhurst, and that whole wonderful 3 months, which culminated in the establishment of Sri Sri Radha London Ishvar in Berry Place. Ranchor Prabhu, in his memory, was describing Prabhupada's final visit to the West and to London in September 1967. And they brought Prabhupada from the manor to the Berry Place temple. And Prabhupada was completely silent, but upon approaching the temple and entering into the prestigious vicinity or neighborhood, he simply spoke this one word, Bloomsbury, which is the neighborhood, the district, very prestigious, near the British Museum, and he was just so happy to. So yes, our renunciation is acceptance. Like one Mayavadi, if you put $1 million in front of me, my hands will go like this. Or say, you put $1 million in front of me, and my hands will go like this. And by nightfall, I'll say, give me more. Like that. And Prabhupada, he just was expert in gauging everything and everyone. Even someone would come and, their heart was in the right place, but what they're giving was useless. There's a story of Upendra. He's initiated in San Francisco in the first visit of Prabhupada, the first 3 months, January to April 1967. And the concept of Guru Dakshin was like newly introduced. And he thought, I'm going to give something which is very dear to me. So he gave a beach blanket which had like maybe Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse on it. And he's giving this to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada looks at it and he goes, this is useless. And Upendra, he was like crestfallen. He started to cry. But then the next day he came and he saw that Prabhupada was using it like in the shower, to step out of the shower as like a bath mat, And he said, oh. So whatever it is, Or one, I forget who she was, one of Prabhupada's disciples, her mother was very favorable and wanted to make some Java, no, was it a particular type of jam out of like an exotic fruit? Guava, not Java, guava. And her mother made it, and she brought it and gave it to Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada's servant asked her what was her mother's address. And then when the devotee got back to America, she saw that her mother had gotten a letter from Srila Prabhupada thanking her for the guava jam. And just seemingly an insignificant, Prabhupada is running a world movement. He's got thousands of disciples. He's going all over the world. There's so much, and he just took the care to do that. So many things. So Prabhupada, he's utilizing everything, but he was always very personal with everyone. Didn't, like we might, the bigger we get, the more strained, the more, diluted we get. But Prabhupada would never lose that individual personalism, satisfy everyone. That is why he's Jagat Guru, spiritual master of the entire universe, and the savior of the most fallen. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. New chapter tomorrow, entanglement in fruitive activities.